We explain how the radical phase of the French Revolution turned into the Reign of Terror. The new National Convention drafted a new French constitution in 1792 that proclaimed France to be a republic. To ensure the new republic would be free of royal influence, the National Convention sentenced Louis XVI to death. In the early days of the Revolution, Dr. Joseph Guillotine proposed equalizing the death penalty, which had allowed nobility to be killed with an axe and the poor to be hanged by a noose, both of which may fail and are cruel and were slow deaths. Dr. Guillotine saw neither of these options as humane, and he showcased a new invention by Tobias Schmidt that could take the head off quickly and painlessly. He was against the death penalty and hoped that this would be the first step to abolishing the death punishment. Little did he imagine that it would become the tool that would put thousands of people to death over the next 10 months, and also that he himself would come close to facing it after his arrest in the Reign of Terror. January 21, 1793, Louis XVI, now called Citizen Capet, as all people were addressing each other as citizen, made a speech to the people at the Place de la Révolution, formerly Place Louis XV. The guillotine stood where the statue of Louis XV had once been. After his speech, the king was put into place, and his head was chopped off and then shown to a cheering crowd. Queen Marie Antoinette would follow him in October, and then 10-year-old son, who was next in line, died in prison. The execution of the royal family marked the beginning of the Reign of Terror. Outside of France, the kingdoms of Europe were fighting to stop what they now saw as the French plague. Inside of France, the royalists and the clergies who hadn't left with the émigrés and had stayed were stirring up peasant revolts. The sans-culottes were still unhappy with the poor economic conditions despite a new constitution. The National Convention saw disloyalty at every turn and vowed to crush it. A 12-member committee called the Committee of Public Safety was created to deal with all of the crises. A revolution that had begun by fighting against absolute power was now moving into absolute power of a triumvirate of Marat, Danton, and Robespierre. One of the first committee actions was to require all citizens to help fight or assist in the war. They required all citizens to crush peasant revolts and root out all memories of the past based in religion and monarchy, even replacing the religious calendar with one based around science and the seasons of France. They turned churches like Notre Dame into gathering places for the cult of reason and smashed religious symbols. The committee held show trials for accused traitors, royalists, priests, nuns, sans-culottes, poets. They even turned on Danton for being too soft on treason. They cleansed his Jacobin faction and then went after the Girondins. They executed Brissot and Madame Roland. Monsieur Roland would kill himself, and they almost captured and killed ally and pamphleteer Thomas Paine. The father of chemistry, Antoine Lavoisier, the feminist writer Olympe de Gouges, and 17,000 more were sent to the guillotine in 10 months. They were killed for crimes that were real and imagined, and then their bodies were dumped headless into Paris's famous cemeteries. 300,000 were arrested, including many who began the revolution in '89.